Hello everyone, Soulsborne Fanatic here. Today we are doing a tier list because this is my best form of content. I did streams, I got mad, I stopped playing, I make other videos, and they're just not as that same level as fulfillment. So now I'm doing tier list again. I have a new microphone because the comments made me very self-conscious and they really upset me, made me cry a little bit. So this one is hopefully better. I won't get roasted in the comment section anymore. Moving on. This tier list is about Elden Ring areas. As you know, I've played a lot of this game, probably a little bit too much, and I know everything about what I'm talking about. I couldn't possibly be wrong in no shape or form. I've played through every single one of these zones, probably at least 5, 6, 7 times. I don't know. I don't count. Hallowhorn Grounds. So this is an area that you go to when you first go underground in that place in the Limgrave. That 10-minute elevator ride takes you down. You go through a few areas, I think an area, little zone, and it leads you into there. And you got to go light some totems, I guess. And after you light 6 of them, you get to fight the boss there, the Regal Ancestor Spirit. No, not the Regal Ancestor Spirit, the Ancestor Spirit. You fight the better version of it later. Well, I don't really consider it better. All it does is heal. It's not very fun, but this zone is not very fun the first time through. You know, you got these people who snipe you across the map with lightning accuracy and lightning speed. They have tracking. They will fuck you up, but those aren't even the real problem of this zone. You know, the lightning balls that you can't attack. It's like the fireballs from Dark Souls 3, except you can't attack them. So, you know, that's very fun. I love that. They worship the tree spirit, and you gotta kill the tree spirit. This zone is pretty fun. I like this zone. I put this in great. I don't know if it's quite S tier. One of my favorite zones in the game, honestly. Not one of the best. Like, I would say it's like right within my top 5. I'd put Hallowhorn Ground. It's pretty cool. And moving on to the best zone in the game, Lake of Rot. So Miyazaki and his team cooked up the most sadistic zone you could possibly think of. And playing this with a randomizer would make this even more fun. If you were to watch on stream. You know, you can get enemies that can snipe you. You can get the gargoyles, you know, all sorts of stuff. It's a really good time. But we're talking base game here. Lake of Rot, it's a lot. It's a lot of rot, okay? And you have to run through it. It's a poison swamp, but somehow they made it even better. I didn't know that was possible. And there's a boss there that you have to go activate a bunch of plates. If you didn't see the plates, you're gonna be fighting it in the rot, which you definitely don't want to do. Honestly, I know like the Lake of Rot isn't like necessarily the best zone. Like nobody really likes poison swamps, you know, except for the select few who like, oh, you know, I get to manage my resources, you know, manage the PvE and the statuses. Which, yeah, I can understand that. You know, if you're working at From Software and your name's Miyazaki, but I would say this is definitely not anywhere close in the ballpark to the zones that could be up here. Lake of Rot, it's not bad. Like I don't subscribe to the theory of bad. I would say it's just annoying. Like it could be way worse. It's not that bad. If you know what you're doing, you just run right through it. But Lake of Rot, I put it in annoying instead of bad. Nobody likes the Lake of Rot really, but you know, I'll stick up for a little bit. You know, not give it a bad. It's definitely all right. Moving on, Leyndell, Ashen capital. So this is just Leyndell again, but everything's Ash. They copied it from Dark Souls 3, Ring City. Bad, really bad. There's not much to do there. It's not really that great of a zone. It just copies what Leyndell did, but it replaces all this stuff that you could have missed in the game. Kinda sucks, really. How you wouldn't be able to go revisit. Like there's a certain item that you need for the achievement. If you didn't get that before you turn everything to ash, which that happens after you fight Malekith, you know you're screwed. You know you got to do New Game Plus, like I did. But regardless, I think the Ashen Capital, it's not that it's like bad or anything. really, which is funny because I put it in bad, but in comparison to the other zones, it's bad. You see what I'm saying? Moving on to Leyndell, Royal Capital S tier. Leyndell is S tier, and I will not take any arguments otherwise. People say that, oh, it doesn't have the best level design, oh, it doesn't have the best design. It's on Leyndell, but what it should have been. You know, the limitations of what they could do at the time on the PS3, and now they put that Leyndell right there, and it's amazing. I love Leyndell. When you first reach there, after fighting 2 demigods, and you just see the scenery and the giant city, the dragon, the music, it's all just it's where the game peaks, honestly, in my opinion. There's no way they could possibly top this in another game. I don't know about it. If we're talking DLC, but base game, there is no better zone, and I will die on this hill. You know, you got zones within zones. You got the Subterranean Shunning Grounds, which is a separate zone in its own right, but it's right there with Leyndell. It's honestly crazy. And then that leads into another area, the Deeproot Depths, which it's just crazy how good Leyndell is. Leyndell is amazing. I love Leyndell. It also has some really great bosses there. That's enough sipping for Leyndell. Moving on to Mistwood. So Mistwood, this area is super random. There's probably not too many people who even recognize it by name. Mistwood is in Limgrave. Limgrave's one giant zone, chunk of the lands between, and Mistwood is to the right of Limgrave. Now you got main Limgrave, Mistwood, Stormhill, Stormveil Castle, and then Chapel of Anticipation. It's pretty cool. Mistwood, you know, it has Blight and Rune Bears. You know, I don't like this zone. I don't like Mistwood. Mistwood's pretty small. You get the wondrous physic there, over to where Caelid is. Mistwood, it's okay. I mean, I would put it probably annoying more than anything. I don't know, it's probably not as annoying as Lycanroc. I think okay is fine for that. Moving on, Mohgwyn Palace. So, Mohgwyn Palace is a secret zone that you can only get to by getting the talisman or whatever thing and that you need to teleport. You have to do Vare's quest to get over to this place. Mohgwyn Palace, it's a bit ganky, you know, Mohgwyn Palace, Moke. Okay. So, Mohgwyn Palace, a whole bunch of dark stuff happened here. You go through dark tunnels, you got through the people who were a part of Mohg's cult. You saw what happened to them. They weren't treated very well. You go up, and eventually you reach a grace that you see hit the cult of the Albernonics. And then you got one standing on top. You got a legendary thing to upgrade your weapon. It's pretty cool looking. I like the looks. The level design, it's pretty short. Which, I mean, Mohgwyn Palace leads to another place outside of the actual palace. There's that part, but you got this giant skeletons outside of there, and you got all the Albernonics that do bleed and shit. It's pretty crazy. It also leads to one of the best farming area in the game, where you just shoot a bird and it falls, because the bird doesn't know how to fly apparently. But I never found a need to farm in Elden Ring. You get plenty of runes, but regardless, after you finally make it past all that stuff, you fight Mohg, which Mohg is my favorite secret boss in the game. There is no other secret boss in Elden Ring that is better. You could say, oh, Malenia, oh, Dragonlord Placidusax. Nah. That's the best one. Mohg right there. I mean, I would put it in great, but the level design really isn't anything that great, which is unfortunate to say. I mean, I prefer better ones. I would say it's high okay. I love the boss there more than I like the zone. You don't go there for the zone. It's not necessarily one of the best level designs in the game. But yeah, it's a very cool place. Alright, Nokron. So Nokron is the Preparation for Nokron, Nokstella, the Eternal City. It's pretty short. Nokron is. It's not very big zone. It just has this center place and like a couple of other places, and it leads you down to the Mimic tier boss fight. And it's not very eventful. It has these enemies that were searching, that went down here to search for something. Pretty cryptic, pretty weird. I like this zone. It's rather short, so I wouldn't really put it that great because of how just short it is. I would say it's probably high okay as well. Moving on to its what comes after Nokstella, the Eternal City. This is a pretty big zone, and it has a lot of layers. It has like a mini boss where you fight two mimic tiers, and then the one whip wielding enemies. I don't know what they're called exactly, but there's also ants and the mimic stuff where it like has spikes. It's a really crazy zone. It has white dots in the sky to resemble the night sky. They were banished underground because they tried to make a weapon to kill Queen Marika, which is part of the quest line for Ranni to get that from here. It's a very cool zone. I put this in great. I like Nokstella. It's one of the Eternal Cities in Elden Ring, and it's very fun to go through. So moving on to this place right here. Ordina, Liturgical Town. I said that wrong. Liturgical Town? I don't know. But this is a zone that you have to go as a secret zone. Not fun. I don't like this zone. It has invisible Black Knife Assassins and these archers who have no cooldown on their shooting. They have infinite arrows, and they shoot 3 at a time. And it will one-shot you if you did not level Vigor. This zone is far from my favorite. I put this zone in bad. I don't like it at all. If anything, I hate it. Moving on to Ruin-Strewn Principle. So this is the little zone that you go to, making your way over to the Magma Wyvern. You got bats. You got a giant squid thing up there. It's really short as well. Not really anything too special or memorable. I put this probably an annoying, honestly. Well, I mean, I don't know. Link of Rot really is in a league of its own in terms of annoying. It's not bad. It's just a high okay, low okay. Bestial Sanctuary. So this isn't really more of an area. All that has is the Beast Clerkman and outside of Valkyrie do a boss fight, which you give him Deathroot and he gives you items. Bad. Moving on, Raya Lucaria Academy, a legacy dungeon in the game, a pretty big one in fact. There's quite a lot of layers to Raya Lucaria. It has 2 boss fights: Radagon's dog and Renala, his ex-wife. I quite like this zone. There's a lot to it. I put it in S tier. It is one of my favorite zones in the game. I have fun revisiting it because to get into this place in the first place, there's a map in front of the gate which leads you to a dragon that you have to fight, which is the most Elden Ring shit that you've ever heard. Raya Lucaria has a really long run back to Renala, which you shouldn't die to Renala in the first place. Renala is an extremely easy boss. It doesn't make sense for there to be a statue of Marika there. Why would a statue of the queen be there when they were at war with them? You know, it doesn't necessarily make sense lore-wise. There's a lore explanation as to why there's no checkpoint. Pretty funny, honestly. But Raya Lucaria Academy. I like this zone. It's a great zone. Moving on. Redmane Castle. Redmane Castle is a little castle. It's Radagon's castle. It has 2 different bosses there, Radahn, and then a gang fight with Crucible Knight and the Misbegotten. It's designed differently depending on when you go there. If you go there before you make it to Atlas Plateau, or I think there's like another trigger. I don't know what it is exactly, but if you go there before any of that stuff happens, you fight that boss, Misbegotten, and the Crucible Knight. and it's full of enemies. If you go and you talk to the night guy and he tells you, oh, a festival's coming, and then you come there way later in the game when you make it to Atlas Plateau, Altus Plateau, and then you fight Radahn. The castle's empty. There's a teleport that leads you right to there, which you would have already had the Grace if you beat Misbegotten Crucible Knight. I think this zone's pretty cool. I like everything about the boss there. I put it in annoying, though. I mean, it doesn't really fit any of these categories. It depends on which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the one that's full of enemies, it's pretty annoying. If you're talking about the one where it's just empty, there's a nothing burger. There's not much to it. It just has Radahn, that's it. Which Radahn's a really great boss. But, I mean, it's a low okay for me, Redmane Castle. If we're talking about the one that's full of enemies, I don't like the boss there. I don't really care for the level design. It's rather short. Moving on, Roundtable Hold. So the Roundtable Hold is the hub world for Elden Ring, which you should be familiar with. There's quite a lot of people there. You know, you got Thea, the deathbed companion, Sir Gideon the all-knowing, the loathsome dung eater, and you know, you got Raya, you got the two fingers up there. You got a invasion when you jump down from there. It's essentially just an area that you go to upgrade your weapons. As you know, it's a fucking hub world. But you can visit the Roundtable Hold in the actual lands between. It's an area in Leyndell. Pretty cool. Roundtable Hold, depending on which one we're talking about. The one in the lands between. There's not much to it. It just has items. That's it. But Roundtable Hold, I think it's great. You know, it's probably not my favorite hub world, but I think it's a really fun one. And after you burn the Erdtree down, it starts to become burned, which was a cool detail. Moving on, Sellia, Town of Sorcery. So this is just a little town in Caelid where it has sorcery, as the name implies, but you need to light these flames, kind of like with this town right here. Oh, it's not kind of, that's exactly what it is, but you have these blue magic things that attack you. You can talk to Gowry over there, across, and you gotta fight, there's a quest line involving that, where you, with Millicent, after you beat the boss, like the things there, and you go up, there's a metal ball. You know, this is pretty okay. I like this zone. It's alright. I would say it's a high okay. Moving on. Siofra River. I don't know if I said that right, but this is another zone in Elden Ring, as you would, but this is what this is what I was talking about. Siofra River leads to the Hallowhorn Grounds, I believe. That's it, basically just that. It's pretty short. It's okay. Not much to say about this zone in particular. You know, it has really funny enemies that blow bubbles at you and have spears. Kind of a joke. I think Estelle's there, if I remember correctly. Don't like Estelle. He shoots rocks at you. Not kind of a dick move, but you know, it's okay. Moving on, Castle Soul. So this is a zone really late into the game. Like, super late into the game. You fight this on the forest, the Mountain of the Giants. The boss there is a reskin of a boss you fight earlier in Caelid. You know, it's a gang fight. He summons 2 knights, and the level there is, it's just a whole bunch of knights, which makes sense. It's a castle, but at the front door you have these 2 kitties that attack you. You know, they aren't too friendly. And outside you got a mausoleum. Castle Soul, I think it's okay. You know, not much to say about Castle Soul. I prefer Castle Morn, if I had to be honest. Moving on to Stormhill. So this is the part I was talking about of Limgrave. It's the 5 parts of Limgrave. You know, you got the Chapel of Dissipation, Stormhill, Stormveil, a main Limgrave, and Mistwood. Stormhill's pretty short. You know, you got 1 NPC there, and then more margin. That's the entire zone. You know, it's alright. I put this in okay. Moving on to the first legacy dungeon that you would go to in the game, Stormveil Castle. Stormveil Castle is really cool. I really like Stormveil Castle. The way it's designed, from like a look standpoint, the architecture there is beautiful to look at. It looks really great. It's not necessarily like very long or anything. If you know what you're doing, you probably get done with it like within like 30 minutes, maybe less, but probably like 10 minutes. But no, probably less, honestly. But regardless, it's not very long, as you can tell. It has this is right after you fight Morgwyn. If Godric the Grafted is the boss here. You know, it has all of his knights. There's even secret zones within this Stormveil Castle that I didn't realize until way later in the game. You jump off of this tower and it leads you down to fight a Crucible Knight. And it's a shortcut all the way back up to where the main grace is. It's intricately designed, not as intricate as other zones in the game, but it's alright. Stormveil, I don't necessarily think it's okay, but I don't know if it's great either. I would say it's more so great than is okay. I really like Stormveil. Stormveil is really cool. So, Subterranean should agree. So this is the area I was referring to with Leyndell Rural Capital. There's a well you have to jump through, and Ashen Capital. It's pretty obvious if you missed it when you were running through Leyndell Rural Capital, but there's a whole bunch of omen there. You have to go through all these different places to eventually make it down to go fight Mohg. You know, you have to go through pipes, sewer. It's pretty crazy. You know, you got giant lobsters down on the floor where the sewers are. The omen are pretty tough to fight if you're not parrying or anything. But I like the Subterranean shunning grounds. I think it's great. It's quite long, lengthy. I would say it's probably like right here, number 2 on my grade. I think that's very fair. The Mohg boss fight isn't anything too special. You know, it's just a Mohg, Lord of Blood, but nerfed. Cool zone. I like it. Swamp of Aeonia. So the Swamp of Aeonia is just a giant swamp of rot, which this isn't where Melania triggered her Aeonia move. She did that over in the Caelid where Dawn was. So I don't know why this is where it's called the Swamp of Aeonia. It's weird, but I don't know what's the explanation there. But this zone, if you couldn't use Torrent here, it would be pretty awful. There's one boss there, Commander Nile. It has an invasion there with one of the Millicent clones. And you can also summon another Millicent clone, which is technically a Melania clone, but to fight now. Nile's a gang fight. Swamp of Aeonia, I'd say it's annoying. There's more to it also of the guys who shoot poison at you and a bunch of ruins over there. It also leads over to the Sellia town. It's annoying, if I had to be honest. Moving on to Caria Manor. So this is where you need to go talk to Ranni. This zone, I like this one. I do. Except for the hands. The hands are the most scary enemy in the game, honestly, if I had to be honest. The hands on by itself, you know, got the small ones, and who cares, medium ones. Alright, it's a little scary. You got the big ones. Oh shit. And then you got the giant massive ones that you see once in the game, and you're just like, oh fuck. Which that one, I don't mess with that one. It's not worth killing. But Caria Manor has one boss. No, technically two bosses, but you don't fight the second boss all the way. It has Loretta, where it's just a reskinned Tree Sentinel with magic. And then they got Dragon Azula. I would say this is another okay zone. I wouldn't put it that great. So up next is the Shaded Castle. So this is just a poison swamp with a castle. You go to fight a ball-bearing hero, and you got a bunch of random enemies. You got Clean Rat Knights. You get those like rotten enemies that are just like poison. You got big ones. You got the wraith things that shoot the yellow balls at you. You got dogs. There's a lot of different enemies here in the Shaded Castle. The Shaded Castle is cool. I think out of all the castles in the game, this is probably my favorite. I think I'll put this at a high OK. Moving on to Volcano Manor. Volcano Manor is a legacy dungeon in the game. It's not necessarily very big, I guess. You know, you can make through it pretty fast. If you don't know what you're doing, yeah, it'll take you a little bit. There's a whole quest line with the Volcano Manor. I wish there was an ending with him. That would have been really cool. But there's two bosses here. You got the Godskin Noble. No, not Noble. Apostle. Yeah, no. It's Noble. It's Noble. And then you got Rykard. Rykard, Gimmick Fight. Noble. You know, it's just a fat Godskin Apostle. Volcano Painter. I would say it's... I don't know if I'd put it at S tier. I don't know. I really like the looks of it. Like, it looks great. I would say this is a very high great tier. I'm kind of hesitant to give areas S tier. S tier is something that should be reserved for very minimal amounts of zones. So up next is Dominula Windmill Village. I said that wrong. So this is just a windmill village. You fight the Godskin Apostle. And you got the crazy old ladies who are dancing. It was a really funny moment in the game where they're just dancing and shit. I like this zone. It's rather short. You know, you just run straight up. That's it. It has dogs. The dogs aggro. And, you know, the ladies aggro as well. I would say it's annoying. This zone is annoying. I don't like this zone. It's funny, don't get me wrong. But it's annoying. Up next is a zone that you go to immediately after fighting the fire giant and burning the earth tree. Crumbling Farm Azula. This is a late game zone where you fight Malekith here and the Godskin duo. One of the worst bosses, best bosses that they've ever made. The best duo fight. So, Crumbling Farm Azula. I don't really like Crumbling Farm Azula. You know, like, it's one of the legacy dungeons in the game, and it's not S tier or great tier for me. I think it's just a high OK, which might be a bit of a hot take, but Malekith, I think he's a really cool boss. Don't get me wrong. But the zone isn't anything that great. You know? You got the Beast Firesmen, you got the skeleton ones, and then you got another little zone where you got the guys who spew at, like, the... one of the statuses, I don't remember which, but... It's a cool zone. Not my favorite. I don't really see how you could prefer this over Volcano Manor, Subterranean, Shunning Grounds, even Nokstella, Stormveil, Leyndell, Raya, Lucaria. I would say this is one of the weakest legacy dungeons in the game. Up next is Frenzied Flame description. So literally all this is just a door, Grace, and like it would be Melina over at your Grace, and then it'd be Hyetta if you did her questline. And then there's a hidden wall that leads you over to the Deeproot Depths. This is what you need for the Flame of Frenzy Flame ending. Bad, because if you're here and you're not going to the Deeproot Depths, you're doing the Chaos ending, and that is cringe. Enough said. Castle Morn. So Castle Morn is a side castle that in Limgrave. It has Misbegotten, where they rebelled and killed a lot of people, as you can see. But there's one boss there. It's just a hyped up Misbegotten. I mean, it's okay. This zone is probably one of my favorite castles. I guess. I like it better than Castle Sol. It's not quite Caria Manor or anything. It's middle of the road, okay. Up next is the Four Belfries, which leads you to the Chapel of Anticipation, or just some random place in not Nokstella. It's right by Mohgwyn Palace, which you can see over to another zone, and there's just a Crucible Knight there. It's pretty funny. And then there's another one, which I don't remember where it leads you over to Far Missoula. Yeah, that's the entire zone, I guess. Very low, okay. It's cool that it lets you revisit the Chapel of Anticipation, though. I like that. Moving on to Deeproot Depths. So this is a very tucked away hidden zone that you wouldn't reach unless you went to the Lake of Rot and hopped in the coffin, which would lead you over to here, and vice versa, I think. I may be thinking of that wrong, but you got ants, you got a tree Crucible Knight over there, and that's about it. It's a cool zone. I like it in terms of look, but level design, not very great. I would say it's a middle of the road okay as well. So, Divine Towers. There's only one Divine Tower in Elden Ring, where it's an actual little zone, and that's the one in Caelid. It's not really anything that great. You fight the Godskin Apostle again. Divine Towers just let you activate Great Runes. Even lower than the Four Belfries. Miquella's Haggle Tree. So I like leading to the, what did I say? The Halig Tree. The Halig Tree is what leads to the zone that I really dislike. But this part of the Halig Tree I like. I think it's okay. I'd even put it at great. I just don't like the zone that follows after it. It just feels like it was rushed. And if it wasn't rushed, I think it would have been probably S tier, honestly. So you got the trumpet, the trumpet white things. I don't know what the hell they're called, but those are funny enemies. You got the giant massive one that can poise through everything. It's pretty goofy. You got Misbegotten, you got the rotten guys. It's all over the place, really. You got battle mages, all sorts of enemies, because the Miquella's Halig Tree accepted everyone. That's because everyone was a slave to Miquella because of his charisma. Up next, Flame Peak and the Forge of the Giants. So this stone sucks. It has a terrible boss. It's extremely short. It's literally just go up there. I hate this zone. You know, you got birds, you got the giants. Not fun. Bad. I don't like it. I think the Fire Giant is one of the... It is the worst Remembrance boss. Probably, it's like tied with Godskin Duo. I don't like Fire Giant at all. The zone feels like it's rushed again. It doesn't really have very much content to it. Grand Lifts, not much here. Not much to the Grand Lifts. It just leads you to another zone. Okay. Aisel River. So you fight the Dragonkin Soldier there, or the Lightning one. It's the cool version of the Dragonkin Soldier. I mean, it's alright. I'd put this in an okay as well. And that's my list. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about my areas list. I think this is pretty accurate for the most part. You know, maybe people might be inclined to believe one is like one higher. I don't think there's anything that really belongs like 2 spaces higher or 2 spaces lower. I mean, I guess I could see the case with maybe Crumbling Farm or Zula being a little bit higher, but I think this is mostly accurate. Entirely accurate for the most part. That's the video. Thanks for watching. As always, have a nice rest of your day.